Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's Halloween bonus upload. A little bit later on, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be doing a Halloween live stream. I hope to see you all there. Before we jump into this bonus, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's bonus, shall we? Today's first encounter. Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Nadine Smith and her husband and their son Shane moved into a trailer park as they waited for housing on a base. Nadine's husband was in the military and they moved around a lot. One day, Nadine and Shane were out playing in the yard when they found a dead dog. They quickly determined that it was the neighbor's dog, and sadly the neighbors weren't around. So they ended up burying the pooch in the woods near the tree line. The next day they went out to check on the grave and the animal was gone. Soon after, Nadine began seeing the creature out by the tree line. It had blood-red eyes and stood, she guessed, 8 feet tall. It appeared to be a bipedal animal of some sort. She began seeing it quite frequently. Her husband assumed that she was exaggerating, but 2 or 3 weeks later, he saw it as well. He saw the red eyes and also heard it grunting and groaning. He went outside with a shotgun to confront it, but the creature was gone. Nadine decided to ask some neighbors around the trailer park if they ever saw anything weird around the area. Her neighbors seemed uninterested in speaking to her about it, and a few shunned her entirely. As she walked around the park one day, she spotted inside one of the abandoned and locked trailers, red eyes staring back at her from the window. Whatever it was inside of the trailer. Around this time, Shane began having reoccurring nightmares and would wake in a panic. He claimed that the creature was looking at him from the window at night. One night, they ran into the room during one of these night terror incidences, and both Nadine and her husband saw the red-eyed creature in the window looking in. Nadine described that it had black yet brown fur, was standing upright, and had red eyes. She noted that to her it looked like an upright walking wolf. She decided to do some research and found out about skinwalkers and came to believe the creature might be one. While her husband was away at work, Nadine, too scared to stay alone, asked her friend to stay over. One night during this time, they heard guttural growls coming from outside as well. Both women looked out the door and observed the upright walking black wolf with red eyes looking back at them. Nadine noted that it appeared angry and bolted in their direction. They went inside. Just then, their 14 by 8 foot trailer began to shake violently. As they were preparing to call the police, everything stopped. They opened the door and the creature was now gone. Nadine and her husband decided that it was probably best just to move, and they packed up their things and drove off. There was a haste to get away from this area, that they ended up leaving some of their furniture behind. Nadine's husband stated that even on the last day, while he was packing up the car, he could see the red eyes watching him from just inside the tree line. Today's second part of the upload is an actual news article taken from a newspaper during the Civil War era. Wild Man of the Woods. During March last, Mr. Hamilton of Greene County, Arkansas, while out hunting with an acquaintance, observed a drove of cattle in a state of apparent alarm, evidently pursued by some dreaded enemy. Halting for the purpose, they soon discovered, as the animals fled by them, that they were followed by an animal bearing the unmistakable likeness of a human. He was gigantic in stature, the body being covered in hair and the head with long locks of hair that fairly enveloped his neck and shoulders. The wild man, for we must so call him, after looking at them deliberately for a short time, turned and ran away with great speed, leaping from 12 to 14 feet at a time. His footprints measured 13 inches each. This singular creature has long been known traditionally in the St. Francis Green and Poinsett counties. Arkansas sportsmen and hunters having described him so long as 17 years hence. A planter, indeed, saw him very recently, but withheld his information, lest he should not be credited until the account of Mr. Hamilton and his friend placed the existence of the animal beyond cavil. Memphis Inquirer, May 9th, 1851. Which then leaves the question, was Bigfoot ever seen during the Civil War? Well, just possibly. In 1999, a collection of autographs and old letters was appraised and authenticated for an estate sale in Hartford, Connecticut. The large hoard included several letters written by Union soldiers during the American Civil War. A few of the letters were written by Private James Moore of the Pennsylvania 67th Infantry Regiment, Company K. The letters were addressed to his wife, Ida Moore of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The letter was written on February 26, 1863. Some of the text had been copied by the appraiser. The auction catalog did contain a full text, but it was lost in a fire of his home in 2005. Here's what was stated. Ramsey and myself were charged to guard company, accoutrements, along the railway. Very cold night. The boys started raising a ruckus from the garrison. Some were yelling aloud that a man-beast was on foot. There was rifle fire towards the river. We continued our duty as the yelling and the shots continued. The corporal queried the witnesses from the company. I was told that the devil raided the food stores after climbing the wall. It was covered in thick layers of dark hair, maybe 8 feet from head to toe. With that one, that really could have been going either way, Dogman or Sasquatch. I wish just a smidge, a little more detail was shared, but it definitely wasn't a person stealing food from that base. Just imagine. I mean, it's so terrifying nowadays to see one of these creatures. Imagine back then when, things were taken at face value and a lot of things were ignored and not talked about. And then, boop, you got some sort of big, hairy bipedal creature that just wants to take your food and possibly take you out. That's terrifying. This encounter is a subscriber's encounter. I'm going to actually put the whole encounter together because it's been a very long time since I narrated this. And I want to refresh your guys' memory with it. There's a very recent update to this terrifying encounter out of New Jersey. At the time of this encounter, I had just purchased a house in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. May 5th, 2017, off of exit 3 on Route 78, 5 minutes from Pennsylvania. My job at the time was 90 minutes away in Hackensack, New Jersey. I worked for Home Depot at the time, 5 a.m. till 1:30 p.m. One day early in the morning in November of 2017, I was making my way to work, left the house around 3:15, making my way to Route 78 eastbound, which is about 5 minutes from my home. Once on 78, I was in the fast lane, traveling about 70-75 miles an hour at the time. I was driving a 2010 Chrysler Sebring, so I was about 50 feet behind a pickup truck who suddenly came to a stop. So I slammed on my brakes, swerving into the middle lane, just as I clipped this dog on the right side of my bumper, never lost stride. It looked like a dark brown German Shepherd, 4 feet tall on all fours. I rolled my window down to see if it was okay. Then it turned around, stepped onto the pavement. The pickup truck already peeled out, so when it started approaching me, I took off. The next week, I got rid of my car and bought an SUV. A month and a half later, strange things started happening around my home. Tapping on my kitchen window, light scratches on the siding. It's been going on every couple of days for about 2 weeks. Then one night, I was up late after 11, doing the dishes. I had the feeling I was being watched, and when I looked out of the window, I saw 2 amber-colored eyes, leveled with me, looking at me, standing outside of my window. I got so scared my legs gave out on me. Couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I don't own a gun at the time, so I started leaving my house with this 24-inch sword with jagged edges for sawing things. One day I was running late for work, and it was raining heavily that morning. I didn't leave my house until about 3:45 in the morning. And I left my sword in the house. I was rushing to my car as I felt this primal fear come over me. So I turned around. The same dog that I hit a few months back was standing 20 yards from me. I was a few feet away from my car, and my sword was in the house, and I knew I wasn't going to make it. I was paralyzed with fear as it slowly approached me and stopped about 10 feet from me. As if I wasn't already terrified enough, it did something that would push my fear to its limits. It stood up on 2 legs. It was easily 8 feet tall, as I felt like a 5-year-old looking up at an adult. I'm a retired bodybuilder, and its muscles and definition would make Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime look like the Nutty Professor. I was terrified and astonished at the same time, me being a retired bodybuilder and witnessing the perfect physique. I estimate its weight at 600 to 650. It looked at me like, "Don't think I forgot what you did. I'm here to pay you back." Then emitted a light growl that rumbled in my chest Then he showed me its razor-sharp teeth, and I soiled myself. It then got around 5 feet from me, growled. I dropped to my knees and was hoping my death would be quick. I looked to my left, where I saw a patrol vehicle was making its rounds around 150 feet away. Yes, I'm saved. No, he never stopped. I'm now crying, and it's enjoying every moment of it. I was at its mercy, and it knew it. The patrol vehicle made its way back and hit the Dogman with its spotlight. It looked over to the cop and me and gave me the impression I think I made my point. Jumped on my roof and went through my back and took off in the direction of the woods, which would be about a quarter of a mile away. And one thing I forgot to mention, there are houses everywhere. The cop exited his vehicle with his gun drawn. Sir, are you okay? And what the F was that? Do you need medical attention? No, what was that? I don't know. A month after I purchased my home, I installed surveillance cameras around my house. Didn't remember until a couple days after my encounter. The whole encounter was recorded. However, government agents knew that and seized my DVR, but not until I backed up a copy to a flash drive. It's been 2 years since this encounter, and I feel like I'm still under surveillance. If you have any further questions, I will do my best to answer. My questions. When you said you felt like you were under surveillance, by who? Dogman or government? Number 2, how did the police officer act? The answers. The police officer ended up calling medical services for me. I was in a trance-like state. It took me 15 to 20 minutes to come out of it. So he came to the hospital to question me after I regained my senses. He said when he first drove by, he saw 2 people in his peripheral. As he got further away, he played the images in his head. When he realized the size difference wasn't normal, that's why he turned around and headed back toward me. As he approached, he thought he was looking at a Bigfoot until he saw a tail and a muzzle. He said he didn't have enough firepower on him to engage it. He was relieved that it decided to leave on its own. His description of it, Hulk with a wolf's head. He reported what he saw to his superior, and a couple days later, plainclothes agents showed up at my home questioning me profusely and demanded access to my DVR and said what I saw was a bear that wandered into town, and it'll be in my best interest not to tell anyone. I would see blacked out SUVs at the corner of my street for about a month, and every now and then they would drive by. What they didn't realize is 4 hours prior to them showing up, I backed up that footage. I saw on my DVR to a USB flash drive. The government is well aware of these creatures, and they are tracking them because a few nights after the incident, a black helicopter flying over the woods for 2 days. I received that email in 2019, roughly September-ish. These are the emails that came after. Hey Jeff, it's redacted. I gave you my encounter a few months ago from New Jersey. Had a strange run-in with government officials and things happening like IRS debt and so on. They told me if I hand over whatever evidence I have, I would have my life back, which I did. These people can ruin your life with a click of a button. They don't care about witnesses telling stories because we are all monitored. They care about what can be proven. I actually had a run-in with the officer that was there that night. and we talked and met up to discuss what happened that night and what he had found out. How each police department or entity keep a black book on cryptids that their higher-ups deal with. Also, I've since my encounter, I own a few guns and a Roddy as well. I also had another encounter in the daytime a month back while I was walking my Roddy. If you're interested, it wasn't the same one back then as it was captured not too long after my first encounter. I believe it might. This email was received March 13th, 2020. Good evening, Jeff. I just wanted to start out by saying the information that William gave you was about spot on. I know it's hard to believe about such creatures and Dogman types and stuff like that, but I have a little more info and I got it from a reliable source. First off, these things haven't been around for 70 plus years. They've been around for as long as man has. The ones that your source put out was the time they were genetically engineered in the 50s, which they needed DNA from the original upright walking canine, or as the world knows them, the Dogman. Quick interjection. He completely misunderstood what we were talking about. He thought we were talking about the Dogman being created in the 50s. Really not understandable how he didn't understand what was said, because it was pretty clear, but let's get back to it. These creatures were around in the Egyptian era, even documented in the Bible as such creatures. The original Dogman had intellect that far exceeded our own till today, but we still can't recreate the pyramids. Anyway, if this information that you're interested in, I can give it to you at another time. Back to the encounter at hand. After my life was put in disarray, the powers that be gave me a final opportunity to get my life back, which I took under certain conditions. So, a few months after the whole ordeal with trying to piece my life back together, I purchased a few handguns and a 12-gauge. I also got a Roddy pup from my brother-in-law. It was 4 months at the time. She's now 9 months. I take her for walks occasionally at the nature park, me being from Jersey, and the gun laws are strict, which forbids me from open or conceal carry. To my fellow Americans, if you believe in the Second Amendment, do not, I repeat, do not move to New Jersey. You will regret it. Also, New York and California. Anyway, back to the story at hand. I would walk my dog and keep protection in my car. So the last time me and Kia, my Roddy, went to the nature park was around a month ago. Everything turned out to be a beautiful day, around 5 p.m., and we were heading back to the car about a quarter of a mile back. Something felt off. Kia started to be on guard, head darting back and forth. As I realized that, there was a possibility that I was probably being hunted by something, so I'm trying to stay calm and get us back to the car. As I did that, whatever was following us was no longer trying to be discreet. Kia started growling ferociously, and then the thing that was following us stepped out of the brush. Oh shit. It's the same one from the last time. No, wait, this one's a couple feet shorter. I'm 6'1", and it had me by 3 inches max. It looked like a juvenile. It was a good 25 to 30 feet away. Fear was definitely overwhelming. I then accepted the fact that I was going to die today, but without a fight. It charged us. I braced for impact. It stopped short of 15 feet. It looked at me and Kia and smirked, as if we weren't worth its time, and leapt about 20 feet into the brush. I looked back at Kia, and she was trembling. It took me a few minutes to get her to snap out of it, and we headed back to the car, as I believe it was following us from the trees. We made it to the car without further incident and took off. A couple weeks later, I was at Walmart and ran into the officer that was there a few years ago at the night of my first encounter. We talked at Fridays, and I told him what happened to me a few weeks ago, and he told me about an encounter that changed his life and job functions forever. That is something you will like to hear. I will provide it, as well as, if not, that's fine. This weekend, going to be some more guns, because sometimes these things follow you home. Any suggestions of what I should get? I, of course, said 458 SOCOM. This next email was sent to me 3 days later, March 16th, 2020. Jeff, just wanted to start off by saying great upload the other night. Also, I want to give my condolences to William for the loss of his friends and colleagues. I still have nightmares after years after my encounter. My first one was the worst, then the second recently, up close and personal. I can still remember the stench on its breath, like decaying meat and hot ass. Pardon the language. Well, enough rambling. Back to the encounter. So the last email I sent, I told you that I ran in to the police officer who was there my first encounter. This is what happened after that. When everything was done, he went back to the police station to give his police report, and he was pondering on what he saw and what to tell his supervisor. And he wouldn't lose his job. The report stated, I was doing my nightly rounds and I passed two people who seemed as if one was an aggressor. And I turned my vehicle around and headed to the home. Turned my light on. It took off before I can get a good look. It looked like a werewolf. Ended up having a psych evaluation and was convinced that it must have been a bear. Fast forward a little over a year, him and a handful of friends were camping at French Creek State Park in PA. Him and two other friends were officers in other counties, and one was a firefighter, hanging out, fishing, drinking, and doing what friends do. Only going to be out of there for a couple of nights, so they hiked to their camp location, pitched their tents, and fished, as it was getting later in the day. As it was getting later, they started a fire, talked, and drank. It was roughly around 1 a.m. His friends turned in. He was still around the fire, taking in the moonlight. Then he heard a roar. It sounded like a cross between a lion and a T-Rex. Two of his friends were passed out drunk. One awoke to the noise. The fireman. What the fuck was that? Don't know. It sounds big and close. He heads to his tent and grabs his handgun. The only one out of the group to have one with them. Heavy footfalls start approaching them from multiple angles. Whatever it is, it's trying to flank us. Red and orange eye shine. From the brush, they were surrounded. Their friend's tent was 20 feet from them and 10 feet from the brush. Something grabs their tent and drags it into the woods with the two in it with incredible speed. I fired a few shots in the direction, praying I missed my friends and hit whatever had them. After the shots fired, they came to and barreled out of the tent. What the fuck is going on? I don't know. We're being hunted. Hunted? By what? I don't know. I counted 8 eye shine. Do any of you have your pistols with you? No, we don't. Shit. I don't have enough bullets for what else is out there. Do we go for our car? No, it's too far. We'll never make it. One of the creatures would charge to draw fire and the others would attack, causing the friends to scatter. grabbing one of the friend and ripping its arm off, trying to finish him. I shot at it. First bullet missed. Its head, second, entered through its ear, leaving brain matter everywhere. They leave, but are not gone. We had to stop the bleeding using a knife we used to gut fish. Set it in the fire and got it hot and cauterized the wound. Sorry to stop it here, but the rest of what happened is a bit long, and my kids are sanctioned home for 2 weeks. Should have the rest of it up this evening or tomorrow morning. This is the final email, and I'm going to reach out to this person. Hopefully they will agree to come on and do an interview. This email came to me March 18th. This is the last part and the part I did not share. Jeff, sorry I'm late, but here's the rest of the encounter. Also, I had to get a refresher on what happened after that, so I wouldn't have messed things up. So after they were able to cauterize the wound, they were arguing if they should make a stand or hike back to their vehicles, which was a couple miles back. Their friend was in pretty bad shape, and they believed he might not last the night. So the two friends placed the injured in a sleeping bag and hauled him into the direction of where the cars were. The officer, the only one with a gun, would cover all of them. Not too long after they were moving, they heard noises on the opposite side of them in the brush flanking them. One would advance and then fall back into the brush strategically, as if they were trying to draw the fire so one can go in for the kill. So they hunkered down where they were and decided to try to kill another one. They might consider the risk too high and back off. After the standoff lasted about 15 minutes, he was able to get a shot off, hitting one of the dogmen in the stomach, which caused it to yelp and take off. As the others were distracted and clearly visible, he took another shot, hitting another in the neck. That one took off. Checking to see how much bullets he was left with. None now. There is nothing keeping them at bay. Time they decided to attack. What he believes was the Alpha had red eyes staring at him with hatred at this point. His empty pistol to the creature, and it let out a demonic roar that brought them to a temporary paralysis. And it disappeared into the darkness from which it came. So they continued to haul their friend to the car, notify the police, got to the hospital, and government agents decided to take over the investigation. They all agreed that it was a bear that attacked them. The agents then asked who killed the bear. And the one friend said, "I did." He got separated from his buddies for further interrogations. They contacted his police department higher-ups. The next few days, he spoke with multiple officers and was told that not many trained specialists survive the pack of upright walking canine. And I'm impressed there's a position for you if you're interested, which he ended up taking. If any of the audience have any further questions about anything in this encounter, please notify Jeff, and he can relay it to me. And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed today's Halloween bonus. I hope to see you all at tonight's Halloween livestream, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone's simply treated with the respect that we all deserve, and that is because of you, so thank you. Stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real.
They are out there and they are dangerous. Share this info with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.